and welcome to episode 10 of my Knitting and Crochet podcast. Welcome if you're new here. My name is Sam and I live in Norwich in the east of England. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. So this is my channel where I share anything crochet, knitting and yarn related. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please consider hitting the subscribe button. That will really help my channel and help put it out to others who are looking for this sort of content. So my podcast follows a typical format of what I've been up to, any finished items, any works in progress, also known as WIPs, any purchases and plans with those purchases, and any upcoming plans or events that's craft related. So first of all, I will get into finished items. That I have none of today, but I do have some very nearly finished items. So that comes on to the works in progress. I have a feeling this might be a bit of a short episode today, but nonetheless, I will share it with you. So the first work in progress that I will show you is living in this project bag made by my stepmom Karen, and it is the Moonlit Shawl. So this is the Moonlit Shawl. It's a paid for pattern by Sandra Paul, and I will show you the progress that I've made on mine. I would have shown this in another podcast, but this is the yarn that I'm using. It's a 4-ply yarn in the colourway Illusion by Ducky Darlings, and I have finished the crescent shape of the shawl. So now all I need to do is do the border along the sort of curved edge. So I paused on this for a while. I wanted to get the crescent shape done, which I have, and I did look at the pattern to sort of start the border and I wasn't getting it. So I thought I'll take a break from this and then pick up a new project, or another project. But yeah, anyway, I have done the crescent shape. I can't really fit that in, can I? So yeah, it's looking quite good. As I said before in the podcast episode, I don't use these as shawls. I use them as scarves. So it is still attached to the ball, but I'll try and show you. So yeah, that would be like a little scarf really. But yeah, just enough to go round once. And as I said, I need a border along this, so yeah, that'll just create sort of like a nice look on the edge. So even though I have finished the crescent shape of the shawl, I have still got this attached because in the pattern it says to keep it attached to then work along the edging for the border. So that's all I've got left to do. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but it looks a little bit complicated. So I just wanted to take a little break from that to, look at it again with a fresh pair of eyes. So that is worked on a 3.5mm crochet hook, which I don't really use small hooks to do crochet projects. However, that's a 4-ply yarn and that is what the pattern requires. The pattern, you can also do this in DK yarn. However, you will need 2 skeins of yarn to do a DK version. I wanted to use some 4-ply and it apparently only requires 1 skein of 4-ply. I've got quite a lot of yarn left to do the border, so I could imagine I'm going to have a little bit left over. So that was my first work in progress. My next work in progress I want to show you is another crochet project. So I would have mentioned this on my last podcast episode. I am making a Minecraft creeper blanket for my little boy. He's 5. And I have done this many solid granny squares so far. So let me count them. Okay, so I have done 20 so far of these squares. Now in my last podcast episode, I think I had 7. So yeah, I've done quite a few more. In this colourway, I only need 28. So I have 8 more in this colour to do. And then I would have shown in my other podcast episode that I've got a light green colour. Now I only need 16 of the light green, and then in the black I need 20. So yeah, I've got 20 of the dark green, another 8 more, and then I can start using the other colours. Anyway, I will be joining these up when they're all done. I'm not joining as you go or anything like that, but I'm going to use the same technique that I used with my Battenberg blanket, and yeah, working up really quickly. And it's one of them easy projects that I can just pick up and just do a few squares here and there. And that is exactly what I've been doing. It's a bit of a palette cleanser when I've been doing more sort of like, I don't know, not complicated patterns, but patterns that I've needed to sort of think about. I have also done a tutorial on how to do a solid granny square if you wanted to check that out, but that is a work in progress. And I just wanted to say it is living in this project bag. This project bag was kindly made for me by my stepmum. So yeah, it's a drawstring close, and then you've got an added bonus of having some handles. I think that's well cute. I love the fabric. Anyone who knows me knows I love leopard print. So yeah, I love that. Thank you so much, Karen. I think Karen is thinking of setting up an Etsy shop actually. So yeah, when she does, I will be sure to link it down below. But yeah, I absolutely love this bag. And I also had this little bag made for me as well. It's like a little notions pouch. So inside here is a couple of, oops. The other one's on the floor, but I've got some needle stoppers. There was another set in here, but I'm currently using them on another project. But yeah, a matching notions pouch to match my bag. And then my next work in progress is living in my redesigned Project 9 bag. I purchased this a few weeks ago. No, I don't know, I can't remember, within the last month. So a little disclaimer, I have not touched this in about a week. I can't remember where I was up to when I last showed you on my podcast, but yeah, I haven't touched it recently. So this is the Tolster Tea, and this is where I'm up to. So I think I'm at the point now where I need to split for the sleeves and then work in the round. I put this down and I started a new project in that time. So that's why I haven't worked on this for the last week or so. The Tolster Tea is a pattern by Rebecca Clow of the Crochet Knitting Podcast. And I love this design. I love this pattern. It's very beginner friendly. And yeah, as I said, this is how far I've got. It's using the 4-ply yarn. So in the pattern, it actually has options to use 4-ply or DK. Now, because I wanted to do a t-shirt, I thought 4-ply would be the better option. If I was to maybe do like a long sleeve Tolster Tea, which there are modifications in the pattern to be able to do so, I would probably use a DK yarn. But because I'm using a t-shirt, I'm using 4-ply. And the yarn I'm using is Drops Baby Merino, and this is in the colourway 42. I have mentioned this before on my podcast, so I won't go into too much detail. It's a lovely blue and it's really soft. So yeah, that is the progress so far. I did notice though, when I changed balls, there is a slight hole somewhere. Let me try and find it. Oh, yeah, here. So where you see here, it's a slight hole. There you go, you can see that better now, my finger's there. But yeah, I simply joined a new ball and I'm not sure my technique was the best. But anyway, I've joined a new ball here and you can see a slight hole. I don't know if the tails inside, if I pull them a bit tighter, that would close it up. But I can use the ends of them tails to just, you know, fix that and sew it up. But yeah, I love how the pattern is. I am knitting the size 4 and I've done the raglan increases, and then it got to a point where you just simply knit like plain knitting. So yeah, these are my raglan increases along here. I haven't even sort of attempted to try it on yet. It's sort of bunched up on these needles, so this wouldn't even go round me to even try them on. I hope it fits. I mean, I've put a lot of work into it. I know this would definitely go over my neck. And when I originally cast it on, I thought the neck looked huge, but actually it's looking fine, you know, it's quite nice. But that is the progress on the Tolster Tea. I have also got a long-standing whip of my Battenberg blanket. I mentioned it before in my last podcast and all my podcast episodes because I started it last summer. So it's been a whip for, coming up to a year. However, I mentioned last time on the podcast, it is getting better weather. So I'm not in any rush to, get the blanket finished. So I haven't worked on that, obviously. And I'll move on to the next whip that I have a lot of progress to show you. So it's living in this project bag, again, made by my stepmom Karen. And yeah, it is. So let me show you the pattern. This is the Flax Pullover by Tin Can Knits, and it is a completely free pattern. Now, I was amazed that this was free because there's a 4-ply version, there's a DK version, and there's a worsted version. So there's so many different weights of yarn that you can use for this pattern. And not only that, there is so many different sizes that you can make. So this pattern goes from a 0 to 6 months right up to a 6XL. So there's a lot of sizes in this pattern and it's free. Like, how great is that? So I have chosen to do the DK version in the size 0 to 6 months. So I started this last Tuesday. I'm currently filming on a Monday. So that was 6 days ago. And I made this. So basically it's a baby jumper. 0 to 6 months was the smallest size that they did. And I have a new niece or nephew arriving this summer. So we don't know if it's a girl or a boy. So I have chosen a nice neutral yarn in the colour grey. So this is a very cheap yarn. It's 100% acrylic, and it was one of the yarns that I bought from Aldi when they did their craft event. So yeah, I've only got the sleeves to do now. I have done the neckline. So I've made no mistakes in this, can I just add? It's not like me. Anyway, I've done 1 by 1 ribbing for the neckline, and then I basically did raglan increases. This is a bit different to the Tolster Tea. So for the Tolster Tea with that raglan increases, you do a make one left, make one right. But with this one, you do a different technique. You knit one front and back, I think it was. I haven't got a good memory. Anyway, it's got this nice sort of detail on the shoulders. Can you see where you've got like a garter stitch panel and then just normal stockinette? Some people choose to omit this from the pattern. Now, I thought I'd follow the pattern, how it's written, because it gives a bit of nice texture there and a bit of interest, I thought. So I kept that in the pattern. And yeah, I think that looks so cute. Because it's the 0 to 6 month size, I haven't added any short rows in this. So the neckline is not higher at the back or anything. It's the same both sides. So you could wear it either way. And it does recommend it in the pattern for any sizes below 6 years of age, not to use the short rows. So yeah, I went with the pattern. And yeah, I think that's just so cute. I mean, I'm not having any more babies, so I'm not going to be knitting any baby wear for my own. But I can do it for any future nieces or nephews. It was only today that I finished the ribbing. I cast off. I just used a normal cast off method. I knit one, like slip the stitch over, purled one, slip the stitch over, and so on. This knit up very quickly, not only because it's DK weight yarn, but because the size is a lot smaller and I really want to cast on another one, maybe in like a size for my youngest son. I think that would look really cute as like a raglan jumper for him. I did do a raglan crochet jumper for him last year. Yeah, I think I might have to make a knitted version. I would highly recommend this pattern for a beginner knitter. So like myself as a beginner, this literally is flying off the needles. I mean, I've done this in less than a week, you know? So anyway, I've now got to tackle the sleeves. As you can see, it's a very small circumference. I've just used some scrap yarn to hold my sleeve stitches. But I do need to obviously pick up some stitches around here. So with the sleeves, I might try the magic loop method. The pattern does say you could either use DPNs as well, but you all know how I feel about DPNs. So I think what I will do is, if I can't find like a small enough circular knitting needle, I will most likely try the magic loop method. So I'll let you know how that goes in my next podcast episode. But anyway, that is another work in progress and actually nearly finished. But I'm really happy with that. So they were all my works in progress. Now for any purchases and plans with those purchases. So I'm going to address a few things that I technically haven't purchased because I'd already purchased them. Let me show you and you'll see. So I did mention in my last podcast episode that I wanted to make a DK version of the litmus cowl. I ordered some Yarn Smith's Merino DK in the colour anthracite grey, and it was more like a brown. Now I sent that back and I exchanged it for black, and that's exactly what I've got. I now have 4 of the black to go with the blue colours that I've purchased. Yeah, that is now going to be in my stash, ready for when I want to cast on a nice easy knitting project. And then another item that I technically haven't bought because I already had yarn. I'll go back a bit. In the last podcast episode, I showed the Sophie shawl, which was a finished item. Now I put it on and then I took it off, and then it was a little bit later that I noticed I had a rash on my neck, and I think that was caused by the alpaca. Now I had 3 balls of that yarn left over in like the teal colour that I used, but then I had also previously purchased a ball in like different colours of the same yarn. So I had a pink, red and another colour, and obviously I knew I couldn't work with them. So I exchanged that yarn, luckily, and I purchased, how many balls? 5 balls of the chunky with merino, and I've worked with this before and I know that it's nice and soft, and I've had no reactions to this at all. I did want an Aran weight yarn, but I only had 5 minutes to choose the exchanged yarn. I saw this and I was like, yep, I will definitely use that for something. Now, I think I might substitute this with Aran weight yarn because there's not a huge amount difference in that, to be honest with you. It's a little bit thicker, but not much. So I might potentially knit myself up another Sophie shawl, but in a smaller size, with the chunky yarn. I don't know when I'm going to start that, but this is what that will probably be for. And I've got 5 balls of it. I'm not going to need all 5 for the Sophie shawl. I can crochet up a hat in this. I can do scarves. Yeah. And then because I had another, what was it, £2.75 to make up, I just got this Hayfield bonus DK. It's just a black acrylic yarn, basically. Can't go wrong with a black acrylic yarn. It's a staple to have in your stash. So these were exchanged with the yarn with the alpaca. At the end of the day, I'd much rather have yarn in my stash that I am going to use, because now I know that I'm potentially allergic to the alpaca. I don't know about baby alpaca because that does feel different. It feels a lot softer, but this one, yeah, I mean, it just had a little bit of an itch factor to it. I'm definitely going to use that one, and I'm glad I exchanged it rather than having the alpaca wool just in my stash not being used. So now on to actual purchases. So something I have actually purchased and added to my stash. No, let's call it a stash enhancement. So I would have shown this on my weekly crafting vlog, but if you haven't seen that and you only watch my podcast episodes, I will show that to you. So the Yarn and Craft store on Norwich Market, which is a yarn store I've been to several times, I saw on their Facebook page that they had some discounted yarn because it was being discontinued. I have used this yarn before and I really like it. It was at a very discounted price, so I had to buy it. A bit of a theme here because it is James C. Brett Chunky with Merino. I purchased 10 balls of the Chunky with Merino by James C. Brett. These are all the same colours. These are like a nice dusky pink colour. And I've used these before in crochet beanies for my craft fair last year. So I know that they'll either be crochet beanies or scarves, or, you know, it could knit up as a bit of a chunky knit, who knows. But if it's been discontinued, I thought, you know, I might as well purchase it. It was discounted price. So all 10 of these balls were £22, and per ball, it's usually about just under £4 a ball. I got these at £2.20 a ball, so I thought that was an absolute bargain and I couldn't pass it up. So that come home with me. And same again from the Yarn and Craft store on Norwich Market. I purchased 10 balls of the James C. Brett double knit with merino. So this one's the DK, and I've never worked with the DK version, only the chunky. But I purchased these thinking that they could be a jumper. So I have a few patterns saved on my Ravelry list that require DK yarn, and I don't think I will be using hand-dyed yarn in DK for these jumpers because they would work out really expensive. And if I'm honest, I would like a more inexpensive way of knitting a jumper. As I said, I purchased 10 balls of these, which would be more than enough yarn for a jumper. But yeah, you get, I think it's 290 meters per 100 gram balls. So yeah, the jumpers that I have in mind is like the Salty Days sweater, the Tolster Tea in DK. So yeah, I could use these for those jumpers. I forgot to say what colour these are. So this is in the colourway Blueberry Melange. It's a nice sort of blue colour. And then along the same lines, I purchased a grey colour in the DK with merino. Again, long sleeved DK knitted jumper. They were the same price, 10 balls for £22. If I'm honest, I think I picked up quite a bit of a bargain, and that's why I purchased it. So they will be going in my stash as stash enhancement. So they were all my purchases and plans with those purchases. So I feel like I've gone through this podcast really quickly, and I've just realised that I hadn't even mentioned, you know, what I've been up to. Well, it's been half term, so I have spent time with the family. I have also been off work, annual leave that is, and I've had a lot of crochet and knitting time, and I've been to my usual craft group that I run with my friend Ellie, and that is on a Tuesday from 7:30 until late. Every Tuesday that is, at the Bull Pub in Helston in Norwich. So anyone who's local who fancies a new craft group to attend, feel free to drop us a message. You are more than welcome. So next in my podcast is any upcoming plans and events. So there is, and that's the Woolay Retreat. I did mention it on my last podcast, so I won't go into too much detail. I think I've only got one more podcast before we go to the Woolay Retreat. I'm also going with my friend Ellie, and yeah, I really can't wait. It's coming up very soon. We are now the 28th of April and it's on the 17th to 18th of May. Yeah, it's coming up very soon, but I can't wait. And then after that weekend will be the 24th of May, where Ellie is holding Barbara's Day Out. So that will be at Dunstan Hall. Head over to her website and she'll have a whole list of dates for more Barbara's Day Outs. But I will be attending that one, and yeah, can't wait. Anything crochet and knitting, you know, is right up my street. So yeah, that comes to the end of my podcast. I think that was quite a short one for me. Anyway, if you did like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe. As I said before, that really does help put my channel out there to others who are looking for this sort of content. I will most likely see you in my next video, which will be probably my weekly crafting vlog. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!